Charles Hajdamach. I'm chair of the glass vetting section, and the reason I'm here is that I was formerly director of the Broadfield House Glass Museum in Starbridge, and Starbridge is to glass what ceramics is to Stoke is to pottery. Starbridge was the centre for glassmaking in England for about 400 years and still is. So my background is right across the board, from ancient glass right the way to contemporary studio glass. My angle was from a museum point of view. I had taken a fine art degree initially. A lot of glass survives, surprisingly. People think that things like Roman glass is incredibly rare, but that survives in huge numbers and are still relatively cheap to buy. There are a few items here at the Antiques for Everyone fair, and right the way through each century and from each country. Major centres of glassmaking like Murano in Venice and parts of Bohemia, what is now the Czech Republic, which are all represented in this fair, and some excellent examples. So it's a very exciting field to be in. Vetting is important for every committee here to guarantee that when the public come in on open day, the first opening day, that they know that when they read the label on whether it's a piece of glass or ceramics, that it's exactly what it says. And with glass, for example, there are times when you have items from the 1920s, for example, being reproduced in imitation of earlier styles, and it's only the quality of the glass, which then in the 1920s was much brighter, much more sort of whiter, silvery, compared to the 1820s pieces, that as an expert one can tell, but a general dealer may not have enough experience, hasn't handled enough to be able to tell the difference. So it's hugely important. And sometimes, as well as kind of saying it's not an 1820 piece, it's a 1920 piece. In fact, there was an instance here today where one of the dealers has a very nice pair of decanters and he's labelled them just as late 19th century. In fact, they're about 1840, very rare. And he's doing himself a disservice. So again, we kind of work it the other way, that we say, look, you know, you actually sort of, they're much better than you think they are. So again, we identify things which are important. We've got two very fine English pieces here. The smaller one, the pale green one, is from the Whitefriars factory, it's often known as James Powell in London. It's about 1880, 1890. And Powells were very much influenced by William Morris in that philosophy of truth to materials. And they were also very interested in Venetian glass. Harry Powell, who was the director when this was made, actually went around museums and old collections and was inspired by Venetian glass, so much so that they didn't use lead glass, the classic material for glass making in this country, but actually made a soda glass recipe which was exactly imitating Venetian glass. So this is so light. It's, you know, it hardly weighs anything, and the bowl is just paper thin. It's scary to actually touch it. So that's a wonderful example from one of the greatest factories in England. This one, we don't know where that was made. The larger goblet is one of those things that is English but might have been made in Starbridge in London. One presumes that this may have come from an area like Bristol or a farming area, Newcastle perhaps, with the name J. Knowles. We don't know who that was, but obviously the inclusion of the two bull's heads, the churchwarden's clay pipes, obviously either a farmer or a butcher perhaps, or a breeder of cattle, and possibly a presentation piece. It's far too big obviously to use, but a stunning example. And something I'm no longer involved with Broadfield House Glass Museum, but both of these items, if I was still involved and had some cash to spend, that these two would be, you know, of museum quality, that I would be delighted to put into the museum collections. Antiques for Everyone is an amazing sort of conglomeration of everything, from fabulous furniture to glassware to ceramics. I have other interests in 1950s ceramics and so on, and I love every period of glass, but I'm also interested in furniture and everything else. And to me it's a highlight of the whole antiques year. It's one of the best fairs I think in the country. I've just been involved with the Masterpieces Fair, with Olympia, with other fairs that I also vet, and to me this is one of the most pleasurable ones to work in, but also just to walk around and look at all the other things that one is not involved officially as a vetter. Glass comes in every possible shape and size. At this fair you've got paperweights. I've spotted a lace maker's lamp from the 18th century where you'd have a candle and the lace maker's lamp acts like a magnifying glass. There are walking sticks. There are trick drinking glasses from Europe where the wine spills out of little holes if you don't put your fingers in the right place. Candlesticks, candelabra, all sorts of things. Vases, you know, everything. It's fascinating. So, and pressed glass, which again is the kind of cheaper range. So whatever price range you're interested in, whatever you're interested in collecting, there are specific things that will fit exactly what you might be looking for and inspire you to collect new things.